Hello everyone, Taylor here, and today I wanted to talk to you all about a documentary I just got to check out. I hadn't heard too much about it, but I did see it pop up on my Netflix recommended thing, and I had seen a Stardust review from Robert from Late to the Party, so I decided to check it out. It is Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond. It is a documentary with behind-the-scenes footage from when Jim Carrey played Andy Kaufman in Man on the Moon, and it was extremely insightful. I have been a fan of Jim Carrey for a long time. I grew up watching a lot of his movies. He's kind of always been in the spotlight for me, up until recently, obviously, but it really kind of shocked me a little bit just how in the role Jim Carrey was. A lot of the time in the documentary, other cast members and the director would say that Jim Carrey only showed up to set once or twice. It was always Andy, or, you know, a character that he was embodying that showed up to set. So it was either Andy or Tony that showed up, which was really interesting to me. I know that there are actors out there who do prefer to stay in character when they're on set, but this was just such a level of staying in character. He was outrageous, and he annoyed a lot of the cast a lot of the time, and seemed very difficult to be around when he was on set. But the performance that allowed him to deliver is just astonishing, and it really emotionally affected the rest of the cast, because a lot of the cast knew Andy, and a lot of them felt like they had Andy back. Even Andy's family would come to set, and they would feel like Andy was there, and that's just something incredible. To have people who knew him and to have family members feel like they had him back for that little bit of time that shooting was happening. It was also very interesting to hear Jim Carrey talk about his experience on the set and how it was difficult for him to come back to being Jim Carrey after living in the character of Andy Kaufman for so long. It's really intriguing to me how you can get that lost in another person, in a character, and come back not really sure where you stand as yourself. But it makes sense. I feel like you just get in the routine and get so familiar of acting a different way and believing, having to make yourself believe that you're a different person. It's also interesting to hear Jim Carrey talk about where he is in his life now and how he doesn't really miss acting and doesn't really miss those times. He has always been someone that felt a little off, and not in a bad way, but just someone similar to Andy, where he doesn't quite fit the mold of everybody else. And I don't know, he just has this charm, I suppose. And I don't think he is the person a lot of people assumed he was, especially when he was in Hollywood, with how famous he got and how well recognized he became. And I don't know, I think that just this documentary made me have a higher appreciation for him as an actor and just kind of respect his craft, because, I mean, I just can't imagine what that experience was like. It just had to be something that probably won't ever be repeated again, just in terms of how magical it seems to have been on that set, feeling like Andy had come back. That has to be a phenomenon that doesn't happen too terribly often, I would imagine. And just hearing everyone else who knew Andy talk about their time on set, like Danny DeVito and Andy's family and Paul Giamatti, and just the director, who, you know, said it was difficult and he didn't really know how to handle the fact that Jim wasn't the one that ever came to set, but how he didn't want it to be any different. That's just such an incredible combination of things. I don't know. I think this was the perfect time for the documentary to come out. I'm kind of glad that the footage has been unseen for almost 20 years, because I feel like it's just so much more special that we're seeing it now, because so much time has passed since then, and we've kind of had time to, you know, to appreciate that movie and to kind of let it settle, and let everyone involved with it kind of try and settle back into some normalcy. And to have it come out now, especially now that Jim Carrey doesn't really spend time in the spotlight ever or do any kind of projects, it's a good time. It just feels right, I think, and I think it was a smart decision ultimately for the footage to not be released first. And I think that the timing worked out, because I think it's very well put together, and I think that the right people had their hands on the project and put a lot of love into making this documentary, and I just think it's something really special. For me, I'm not very familiar with Andy Kaufman. He died, I believe, 10 years before I was born, something around that, so I hadn't really grown up hearing anything about him or really knowing who he was, until I saw Man on the Moon, and even more so now that I've seen this documentary. So I don't quite have that connection in that sense of feeling like Andy, like I was seeing Andy back and feeling like having that kind of connection with Andy. But like I said, I grew up seeing Jim Carrey everywhere. So I do feel like he was an integral part of my movie-going life as I grew up. But have you guys seen this documentary? I hope you have if you're watching this, because, I mean, I guess I didn't really spoil anything. It's a movie that came out, but anyway, I would advise you guys to go check it out if you haven't seen it, especially if you're a fan of Jim Carrey and or Andy Kaufman, or even if you're just a film lover. Honestly, I would suggest that you check it out. I found it really intriguing, and I kind of want to watch it again, just because it just, like I said, it just felt like something magical was happening on that set. Anyway, leave your thoughts in the comments. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed your time here. Also in the comments, let me know which Jim Carrey movie is your favorite or had the biggest impact on you. For me, I would probably have to say that it's The Truman Show, but like I said, I grew up with so many of his movies that they all mean something to me for different reasons. Yeah, thank you guys for checking this video out. You guys are the best. I officially hit 700 subscribers, which blows my freaking mind. You guys are awesome. But yeah, I will see you all next time.